ancestral altars, graves, and heirlooms as curse anchors. Welcome back. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and this is the Occult Families How to Spot Them series. Trigger warning. This video series covers disturbing and very serious topics. Full legal disclaimer in the video description below. No curse operates in the abstract. It must be anchored. That means it needs to live somewhere. Held in place by physical objects, sacred locations, or emotionally charged symbols. Curses are not just energetic commands, they are networked through space and form. Let's begin with ancestral altars, which are one of the most overlooked and misunderstood spiritual devices used in bloodline binding. In many families, especially those with spiritual, religious, or occult roots, altars are built to honor the dead. These might include photos of deceased relatives, candles, crucifixes, rosaries, offerings, incense, or keepsakes like wedding rings or medals. They often appear innocent, but altars are not just shrines. They are active energetic transmission devices. An altar is a location where spiritual attention is directed, amplified, and often sustained. And if an ancestor was bound to a curse, pact, or spiritual agreement in life, then honoring them repeatedly at an altar can reactivate that contract in the living. For example, if a family matriarch who held ritual power dies, and her image is placed on an altar without spiritual release, you have essentially turned her spirit into a gateway. If that matriarch made soul agreements with entities, spirits, or magical systems, the altar serves as a signal beacon, one that keeps those entities connected to the bloodline through the living. When candles are lit, prayers are said, or meals are offered at that altar, the curse system receives its due. The energy exchange continues. Worse, many occult families do not only place the dead on the altar, they place the living. It's not uncommon to find a family altar where the photos of estranged relatives, rebellious children, or problem family members are set beside those of the deceased. This is sympathetic magic, a symbolic act to energetically link the living person to the spiritual system being worked with. If you've ever discovered your photo displayed on an altar without your knowledge, or found out it was included in a prayer ritual for your own good, you may have been tethered without consent to a curse system run through the altar. Now let's move to a second anchor point: grave sites. Burial grounds are not just places of memory, they are energetically charged portals. In occult systems, graves can serve as holding stations for unbroken contracts, especially if the deceased was not spiritually cleared or if a ritual practitioner died while still holding soul-bound authority. When a grave is visited regularly by family members, particularly on death anniversaries, religious holidays, or eclipses, it acts as a ritual refresh point. The energy of grief, attention, or honor fuels the contract. If no release or curse breaking has occurred, each visit becomes a reinvocation. Even more concerning is when grave sites are used for ritual anchoring through object placement. If family members have ever left personal items, like jewelry, hair, paper notes, or food, at a grave, especially those belonging to the living, this creates an energetic triangulation between the dead, the item, and the person. This may appear harmless, but it's not. In spiritual law, any time something representing your body or energy is placed on consecrated ground, it can be used to bind, monitor, or affect your field. Additionally, some family curses are carried out through name placements on gravestones or burial proximity. In ritual lineages, it's common for a child to be named after a deceased relative, not out of love, but to preserve a contractual identity. If you share the name of a dead relative and were also born near their death anniversary or buried next to them in a family plot, you may be carrying energetic inheritance without awareness. That inheritance is not always financial. Sometimes it's spiritual debt. You may be living out the unresolved karma, shame, or sickness of someone who died cursed and was never spiritually disentangled from the lineage. The third major anchor of bloodline curses is heirlooms, charged personal objects passed down through generations that serve as spiritual containers. Jewelry is the most common: rings, necklaces, brooches, watches. But it can also include mirrors, books, weapons, prayer beads, clothing, or even furniture. These are not neutral items. In ritual families, heirlooms often double as magical sigils. They store energy, track lineage, and function as physical anchors for contracts. If a cursed ancestor died while wearing a specific object, or if that object was used in ritual, it may be housing an active program to maintain the curse in the physical realm. Survivors of ritual families often describe disturbing experiences when handling heirlooms: feelings of nausea, dizziness, heaviness, nightmares, or sudden intrusive thoughts. Some report that their behavior changes while wearing a family ring or staying in a room with old portraits or inherited mirrors. Others notice that these objects seem to draw spiritual activity, shadow figures, strange dreams, or energetic interference. These are not hallucinations. These objects are charged constructs, and unless intentionally cleared, they maintain their original program, even centuries later. It's also common for these heirlooms to be distributed strategically. The favorite child may be given a charged object designed to tether them to the family legacy. The black sheep might be handed a cursed item disguised as a gift, only to experience immediate life destabilization after receiving it. If you were ever given something by a dying relative and told, "This is yours now, it's been waiting for you, pay attention," that object may be a ritual passkey, a symbolic handoff of spiritual weight, trauma, or role-based identity that locks you into the family grid. Books are another category of cursed anchor. Many families pass down religious texts, grimoires, or handwritten journals that contain more than wisdom. They contain unresolved contracts. If your family has a Bible, Torah, Quran, or other sacred text that's been passed down through generations and is never to be touched, moved, or discarded, ask yourself why. Especially if this book has strange inscriptions, family trees, or blood-stained pages. These sacred objects often double as tracking portals. They watch who holds them. They tether the bloodline to whatever system first consecrated the text, whether divine or demonic. Let's not overlook mirrors, particularly old or inherited ones. In spiritual law, mirrors are not just reflectors, they are portals. If your family owns or passes down mirrors that belong to ritual practitioners, deceased elders, or were placed near ancestral altars, you may be dealing with an open gateway, one that allows monitoring, visitation, or manipulation through the reflective field. Mirrors have been used in black mirror scrying, necromantic work, and spirit summoning for centuries. If a family mirror causes fear, nightmares, or an uncanny sense of being watched, it is likely active. And it may be anchoring more than just a visual reflection. It may be holding the curse itself. So what happens if you discover these things in your home? First, you must understand that these objects are not neutral. Just because they appear physical doesn't mean their power is limited to the material realm. The curse does not live in the mirror, grave, or altar by accident. It is coded there, programmed to persist until someone with awareness breaks the loop. You cannot fix this with love or distance alone. These items often function as nodes in a spiritual network, and until the entire structure is disassembled, piece by piece, they will continue doing what they were created to do: hold the curse in place. Second, just removing or burning the item without energetic release is often ineffective, or even dangerous. Many cursed heirlooms are protected by secondary spells, meaning that anyone who tries to discard them without permission may trigger backlash. People often report sudden illness, confusion, accidents, or vivid dreams after attempting to destroy these items. That's not superstition. That's evidence of ritual response protocols encoded into the object. You are not just throwing away an item, you're breaking a contract. And if the contract isn't voided correctly, the curse will simply re-anchor elsewhere. Third, it is essential to trace the anchor to the contract. Where did the object come from? Whose energy does it represent? Was it tied to a family event, ritual, or specific person? Did it appear in your life after a spiritual turning point? Once you identify its purpose in the curse system, you can begin to dismantle it with accuracy, not just fear. Hi, I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and what you just watched is part of my signature program, the Chosen One series inside School of Soul. This series is not just a course, it's a blueprint for those who know they were different from the start: the black sheep, the scapegoat, the truth teller, the cycle breaker. Inside, you'll discover the family roles playbook, the golden child, the scapegoat, the enabler, the lost child, and how to finally step out of the part you were cast in without consent. How the black sheep becomes the goat, turning rejection into radical transformation in leadership. How to break generational curses and rewrite ancestral contracts so the pain stops with you. And how to recognize and escape modern forms of spiritual and technological targeting, from gang stalking to synthetic synchronicity. This isn't just about survival. It's about awakening, about reclaiming your voice, your lineage, and your destiny as one of the chosen ones. Click the link below to access the full series now, because the role ends the moment you decide it does, and the real script begins with you.